Hello and welcome to Project Passion. Thank you so much for tuning into our first episode. If you haven't already read the description, Project Passion is a podcast made to inspire you to follow your passions and turn it into a business or a career. Every week I'm going to be bringing on a new guest to share their passion, their story and their tips for how you can take your passion to the next level as well. I know I bang on about it consistently and constantly, but I really do believe every passion can be turned into a profitable business or career. And on Project Passion, I aim to take a deep dive into the minds of these people that are following their dreams and living their passions, so as to give you an insight on what it really takes to live the life you want and achieve the success, no matter what your passion. Now, to kick off the podcast, I want to introduce my first guest, the incredible Leila Evelyn Designs. So Leila's a surface pattern designer, and she's just about to graduate the University of Wales Trinity St David with a first degree in surface pattern design. And in 2018, she was actually the winner for the IDOT competition. And 2019, she was the Orange Box shortlister. And this year alone, she was shortlisted for IDOT, and she also placed in Fashion Formula. And she was also recently, in the last couple of days, selected for New Designers down in London. And I know she'll talk a little bit more about that in a second also. But do you want to introduce yourself? Anything I might have missed when we started?
Yeah. Well, I'm Leila, like John said. I am just graduating this year. It's been a bit of a crazy year with everything that's been going on, as I'm sure everyone's sort of aware of that. I didn't think I'd be graduating in a global pandemic, and I didn't think I'd have to complete my degree working at home. I chose a degree that was really, really practical, so it's been quite a challenge this year. But I think it's shown me that I'm able to motivate myself in different circumstances, and that you've just got to keep working as a designer and keep trying to do what you love the most and make that into sort of your everyday life and your career. So that's what I've always aimed to do. That's
awesome.
Covered it,
so no, look, obviously I know what you done before uni and on your lead up to going to uni to do surface pattern. But for anyone who doesn't know, what would you say you started off as? How you got to get to go into your degree, what you've done through school and what you've done for your A-levels?
So like everybody, I suppose, I obviously followed the UK education system. So I was always really, really creative as a child. I was always playing with Play-Doh and things like John knows how messy I am as a person. I've always got different projects on the go. And I always did have different projects on the go. And going through school, I would sort of look forward to arts, graphics, all those sort of creative lessons. I wasn't naughty in school or anything like that, but I just didn't enjoy the academic side of it. So as I got older and was taking GCSEs and things, I didn't really pick the academic subjects. Obviously, you have to do the certain ones, but I picked art, graphics, and I think I picked German, which was a language. So I've been always interested in travel and things like that. And the creative subjects were just what I lived for at that age. So then when it came to finishing school, I was so unsure on what to do. And a lot of my friends were sort of going to do A-levels at colleges in Lancashire. But I wasn't really interested in those colleges or those subjects. So I sort of had to go it on my own. And I think a lot of creative people sort of have to step away from maybe their peers at that age, because you're not going to be in the same places as they are, which is unfortunate, but you have to kind of follow your own, passion. And I thought, right, that's it. I'm going to look around Blackburn College, and I did that, and I fell in love with the art and design and BTEC level 3 diploma that it was at the time. I think it is still that. So I did that for 2 years, and I absolutely loved it. And I met some really, really great people who I'm still in touch with now and try to collaborate with when I can. After finishing that 2 years of art and design, I was still really unsure what I wanted to do, which we've spoke about so many times. I don't know what I want to be or anything.
Of course.
But so I finished my 2 years of art and design. I only got a merit, which I was disappointed at the time. But never mind.
It's still good though. It doesn't matter as long as you come out with the piece of paper by the end. It doesn't matter really.
Yeah, and to be honest,
no one has to grade. I mean, a lot of people will pretend that it really does, but from my perspective, they ask, "Do you have the qualification?" If you have the qualification, you have the qualification. I don't think you have to really stress about your degree so much.
I think when you're creative, I think grades don't really come into it. As long as you've learned and you know what you can do and you've learned the skills and things, I think that's what it's really about. Anyway, I looked to do a foundation then before I went to uni. So I did a foundation diploma, which was UAL, like in collaboration with UAL. And I did my foundation degree and I absolutely fell in love with textiles and things like that. So that led me to then picking surface pattern design at Swansea College of Art for my degree, which I've just done 3 years of. And now I am planning to do my MDes, which is like a Masters of Design. So that's my next sort of step.
And I think you'd probably agree that for people like creative people like yourself, that obviously it was harder to find a path before when you were younger and trying to find what direction you should go, as opposed to the traditional routes of like math, English, science departments. I think you'd agree now that when you go to university, it's a lot more open to that, and it's a lot more comfortable for people like yourself to fit in and to get a path.
Yeah, I mean, like you meet so many people at university, and I can't recommend that enough. Like, if you are a creative person, like, and you are from a rural area like I was, then you need to go to like a city or to a bigger place and meet more creative people, because by doing that, you become a better person. Like, I grew so much through university because I just wasn't that outgoing and like things like that before, whereas now I've got a circle of creative friends, and it's great because they're the ones that I can lean on and speak to about different design ideas. And I might not necessarily have had that if I'd have stayed so close to home. Of
course.
So
yeah, of course.
That's the point to put out there.
Yeah, of course. It's just university gives you so much more room to actually develop yourself. Even if it's something that you weren't able to previously develop because of structure of schools and the academic structure in the UK or abroad. Once you get to that place where it's a lot more open, you have a lot more chance to develop your own skills and your own creativity and your own path for yourself. And that's really the most important part.
But needless to say at that point as well, like, university isn't for everyone. You don't have to go to art school if you're a creative person. Yeah. You can make it on your own. You can do it yourself without having them qualifications behind you, because like it's been mentioned by a lot of people who have graduated and, you know, people who have got their own businesses now, like they've never been asked what grade they had, which we kind of mentioned a little bit before.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think realistically it's more about just following what you want to do, and like that's the main point at the end of the day, isn't it?
Just find what makes you happy. And that's what the whole point of this podcast is, well, to kind of show people that you can find a passion or something you're interested in and really carve a path with it and actually make yourself successful through a career or a business. Now, Leila doesn't like to big herself up too much, although I am probably her biggest fan. But all these competitions and designs, obviously, like I stated at the start, you know, I.dot shortlist, Orange Box shortlist, I.dot winner, placed in fashion. Do you want to kind of run people through what they wear, maybe how your design base was?
So for me, I'm a big print and pattern lover, but I specifically like designing for interiors like homeware, such as like wallpaper, things like that are what I like doing. Big lover of print and things like that. So while I was at university, I had great opportunities to get involved in a lot of live briefs with really good companies. One of the briefs in first year was the I.dot, which is it's a charity run and supported and sponsored by a lot of really good industry leaders. So my category was Find a Call, which I won in my first year, and it was amazing because it led to opportunities of internships with them and things like that. So winning that competition allowed me to network and just really find out what I like doing. And I realised that in my first year, which was when I was only 19, I think, that was the sort of industry that I loved, and I could just tell straight away that that's sort of what I wanted to do. Then obviously going through uni, there was more competitions and more live briefs. So we did a really good live brief in my second year with Orange Box, which is a company that reupholsters and creates office furnishings. And the task was to create a Sully seat made out of recycled waste fabric from their factory. And we visited the factory and we did this whole project with them on sustainability. And that's where my dissertation then led into that, because sustainability is a really big passion of mine, and I'm really, you know, concerned about the environment and things like that. So as a designer and as a creative person in this new generation of designers, I want to sort of like make that one of the things that I focus on. So that project was absolutely amazing, and it went to Clerkenwell Design Week in London. I was only shortlisted for it, but again, it was an amazing opportunity and a really good place to work with business leader with that group of people. So yeah, and then just to talk about quickly some of the other competitions. So I have placed in Fashion Formula this year, and that was submitting some design work. So I submitted some design work from F&P. They liked it. I placed with them, and then I've also placed again in the charity shortlist this year. So my main point of in saying these things is, you should go for competitions and you should really push yourself to enter them, because it doesn't matter if you win or lose. There is no losing involved, because you've learned something from that experience. And from them experiences, all I've learned is, by putting yourself out there, you are opening the universe up to good opportunities to come to you. And I don't think I would be as confident in myself now if I hadn't have had them experiences. And I just feel like a big part of it is selling yourself, which, as Johnny knows, I'm not very keen on doing. Like, I just do it because I like being creative and I like making things. But this is sort of the reason why I'm getting involved with these podcasts and learning more about businesses and stuff, because I think that you can't just shy away from the money factors and business. You can't be creative and just not be making any money. Like, it just doesn't work. So
you have to have something to fund the creativity.
Of course you do. And you have to be able to live yourself and live a normal life without constantly worrying about monetary value and things like that. So I'm open to learning a lot more. Like, through the summer, I was involved in a summer startup week recently, which was run by uni leaders in Wales, and we had some great business people speaking to us. So I'm learning as we go, as everybody probably is during this time.
And I know, obviously, seeing you go through that industry week, how actually important it was, and how much it developed your mindset and your thinking process. So to go beyond the creative and your process that you already have for yourself, for how you create these amazing things, but also getting the mindset of how you can create a brand around that, to actually make it sustainable for yourself, to actually be able to do it as a career and as a business.
100%.
So I think that is such an important thing, and it's something I've never done, but from hearing the snippets that I heard and seeing how it's developed your mindset, I can see how important it is for students coming out, especially in creative degrees like yours, who maybe don't have such a good idea of where they go in industry from that point. I think it's a really good thing to give them that idea that, hey, you can just do it yourself and go out and actually be successful, as well as going into industry and working for other people and doing that.
I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to everything. Like, I'm at that stage now where it would be great to get more industry experience, but I also have some ideas of my own, so it's sort of like a limbo.
Of course, and you can do both at the same time.
Yeah, obviously,
do both.
So this is something I'm going to obviously explore, and then maybe in the future, if I come onto another podcast, then we can talk about where I am at that point.
Of course, definitely. Well, look, something else I want to quickly touch on before we go into our next point is, obviously, you were selected for new designers this year, so massive round of applause for you. But obviously, with everything going on, obviously you can't do that. Like, do you want to quickly explain what new designers is for people? And then I'll kind of lead into how you have to set up at home.
Okay, so new designers is a really big event in London. When I was applying for universities, that was sort of like the vision in my mind. Like, I would have loved to have been there. I've been every year for 3 years. I've looked at every graduate show. It's really bigged up in textiles, and most people who have done like a surface pattern course will probably know about it. But New Designers actually does shows for like jewelry makers and etc. It's really big. Do some research on it if you're interested in knowing more about it.
Yeah, so this is for everyone. So this would be like jewelry makers, interior
product designers,
exactly. Everything.
But for me, it was specifically for print and pattern, and textiles. So yeah, that would have been a show that I would have been going to this year and exhibiting my final collection there. But obviously this pandemic happened. So, that isn't exactly happening in the traditional way it used to. Whereas now it's more online and digital, which is great, because in a way, being online and digital, there is really good advantages, because a lot of people can see your work. They don't have to go to the event, etc. These events are sponsored by industry again. So similar to the iDot, obviously in a different way. They're sponsored by industry specialists, and they will headhunt people and designs and things like that. So it's really, really exciting. And I'm so proud and pleased to be picked for it. It's just, an amazing opportunity, but in an unexpected circumstance.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, like, like everyone is, and like every organization and business is, they are trying to make exception for the pandemic, and they are trying to do it online for you to at least give you some way to get that onto a platform.
And I've got to admit, there is a big like support network out there. Like people don't want to see you fail. Like our tutors have been amazing. Like for me, like they've really pushed me through working at home, which was quite difficult. So there is a big support network out there. You just can't be afraid of asking for help when you need it.
Yeah, of course. I think that leads actually really well into what the next point was, which is obviously I've seen how you've had to develop the way you work and what you do with this pandemic. Obviously, what you do, you use a lot of equipment, you use a lot of machinery, so to speak, and facilities. Yeah. So, you need your print room, you need your design suites, and obviously being out of university and not even being out of Swansea to the point where you don't have as much equipment, as much space as well. Yeah. Do you want to kind of just go through people kind of how you have to change that?
Yeah, of course. So obviously I was going through my third year as normal, and it came to it was going back after Christmas, and obviously the coronavirus was being spoke about a lot more, and we was understanding a little bit more about it. And in university, they'd obviously put a lot of health and safety and self-care signs on about washing your hands, being hygienic. We never really thought anything of that, because at university I was just in the print room, dyeing fabrics, screen printing, lino printing, doing everything that I normally do, laser cutting, etc. And then one day, I think it was in March time, we sort of went into uni, and our tutors were like, we've got some news, we're going to have to close. Every university's doing the same. And it was like, pack your stuff and go. Me thinking, I'll be back in 2 weeks. No. So a couple of weeks after that, we was locked down in Swansea.
In lockdown in Swansea.
Yeah.
Got there.
Yeah, got there in the end. And I thought, you know what, this just isn't going to work in this studio apartment. We haven't got the space.
Yeah.
So we came back to where I'm from, and I set up my own little workshop on my kitchen table, in the garden, wherever I could work. Yeah. And I tried to, do the things that I would have done anyway if I'd have been in uni, but more reliant on digital software such as Adobe Photoshop and things like that. So I was using my laptop a lot more, but I was still trying to print and work at home. So I had like really large lino cuts.
At one point we had like a line of just prints going across the roof with just bits of thread just holding them on the wall.
Different prints
everything drying out.
Everything drying out. My mum was so pleased.
Yeah.
But
it's been hard for everyone. I mean, also
so
basically
people had it a lot worse.
Yeah. But I mean, for us, where we are here, thankfully, I'll say we were in a studio apartment. We moved out of Lancashire to where Leila's family home, and thankfully it's a fair bit bigger. But it's kind of still been hard for us in a way, because Leila obviously been doing her degree and doing the final stuff for her degree. Me being self-employed, so I'm obviously needing office space, and I need some space to actually, make my calls and do what I do.
And I live quite rural, so the Wi-Fi isn't
Wi-Fi
great.
Is shocking. But at the same time, Leila's mother also works in a school, so she has her own office, it's her space, and she uses that regularly, on and off. So it's kind of all three of us trying to kind of flow together. Find, when not to go in the list room because that person's busy.
But there hasn't actually been an argument, has there?
No, there hasn't been any argument, so it's been right that way. I think it's just everyone just kind of understanding the situation. I think we all understand that.
And I'm sure, there's so many people in the same boat as well, but it just goes to show that you've, in my creative mind, all I kept thinking was, well, if I can adapt this, I can do anything.
You can adapt to anything.
I can adapt to any situation. I might not have I've had limited materials, limited Wi-Fi, limited this, limited that. And at no point, I moaned about it at the start, but then I got over it, because I was literally like, I've got to do this.
But I think we all did that. I think everyone, in at least in the UK, it seemed, had that shit type of moment where everyone was more annoyed than anything that it was disrupting us before we realised how serious it was.
And I think it just reflects on the world that we live in. We're so used to that fast-paced, everything's accessible through a click, and when it wasn't, it was like, well, what's happening?
Yeah, I think it just made people a bit scared but annoyed as well, I think, at the start by the time. And then it was just more like it was an inconvenience before we all sort of realised how serious it was and how important it was to then start following.
And to be honest, when you look back from I know we're still not out of this whole thing, but when you look back then to now, which is a good few months, I think you should just be thankful for being healthy, touch wood, safe, happy. You know, we've got somewhere to live. It's all going to be fine.
Of course.
And the, you know, my career and things, I've got this amazing amount of time now to develop things and develop my own ideas and push forward. So really, it's a blessing in disguise in some ways.
Exactly. And I mean, that's it. Like, the world hasn't stopped just because certain things have. So this is the time that you need to be making more moves and working extra hard to get where you want to be. Because
nobody's had this much time before.
Yeah, exactly. No one has ever had this much time before that they could actually develop themselves and develop their brand and develop their business. And it's just taking that action and taking actionable steps to get yourself to that point.
Actually, you said something really funny at the start of lockdown. You was like this is the time, and you was like, if I don't come out of this with more knowledge, then I failed lockdown, because there's been so much time to sit and learn. Like, how many books have we read? Like, how many magazines have we?
And it's been ripped off. It's been ripped off on about 500 memes since lockdown started as well. Because I said that as soon as lockdown started, and I was like, to be honest, this is a blessing for me. Where I was at the time, just starting JT Media Marketing, I was like,
you just left the job. And
I was like, this is fantastic. It's like the world's paused to give me extra time to like. And that's what I mean by when we realized it was a lot more serious. But at the time I was like, shit, this is great. Like, I have so much extra time to like learn and develop and do all this extra stuff I want to do. And then the world's going to restart again. And I think, as you say, like, that's what I said. If I don't come out of this with more knowledge, more skills, more money, there's a fucking problem. And that was, again, it's been ripped off on about 500 different memes now on the internet.
But it just sort of says the point that, like, the mindset's been there from the start, and we have just tried our best to push through as individuals, as a couple, and as everything.
As people, it's just I think everyone just had to put their head down and push through with the situation and with the hand they've been dealt. But I think that's great for this section. We take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll actually talk about how your brand's been developing and how we're going to push you through and be successful.
Okay, no problem.
Awesome. We'll take a break then. Okay, welcome back to Project Passion. We're here with Leila Evelyn Designs, and we're talking about her path she's took to get to where she is and to go for university, and her lockdown experience and working at home. We're just about to talk about your brand and your plan for the future, and have a little discussion about your business and actually get into the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, okay. So, at the minute, obviously, I'm just graduating, but I am trialing out selling a few products, mainly prints, things like that, but I do want to branch out into like scarves and some homeware stuff, things like that too. So I'm sort of at that limbo stage at the moment, but I'm lucky to have like a really good brother and obviously boyfriend who can support me with that, because they have really good marketing skills and business minds, which I don't necessarily have myself.
Yeah, and shout out to Leila's brother Jake, who's works with Leila, you could say, on Leila's brand. He's super knowledgeable when it comes to they've got a meeting today about that, and it's he's super knowledgeable when it comes to like SEO, everything to do with like online and digital as well. Even I learn a lot from Jay as well. So I think you're really lucky as well to have him in your corner and actually helping you get your brand.
I think just having someone that you can speak to and like relate to, and it's great that he's my brother, but there's a lot of other people that you could reach out to, like your enterprise champion, say who's at uni, or other business leaders, or just actually drop somebody a message who has a business that's sort of similar to what you want to do, and just say like, how have you done this? Where did you start? And just get some information off them to begin with.
I think something that was you'll probably agree was really important not important for us, but was really valuable to us towards the start of lockdown was having an accountability partner. So like me and Leila were accountability partners, where she made sure I was keeping on top of my outreach, and she would make sure, I was hitting my sales targets, I was hitting my calls, I was hitting my emails, so she was making sure I was doing my job, essentially. Being self-employed is that mentality that you will kind of slack off sometimes, and don't be upset when you do. It's just natural. It's like you would do a normal job, but having an accountability partner, someone that you can go to, who can go, shit, I'm having a bad day, and they hit you with that morale boost, and they're making sure you're hitting your targets, and at the same time you help them make sure they hit their targets. So you find out what their goals are and where they want to be, and what they need to have done by this point, and then you hammer on them. You make sure they're doing their job, and you make sure they're hitting their targets. I think that's really valuable to people.
And like deadlines are like a really big thing for me, like, because I've always worked to deadlines and briefs. So I've got to set myself my own deadlines and personal targets for like producing like work, but also like content's obviously a really key thing. So to keep up my Instagram, Leila Evelyn _Designs and my Facebook page and things which I've just started. So I am going to branch out with that as well. That's part of my like business plan, as well as selling products, is to be more active online and things like that, which I'm hoping that you can support me with.
Of course, yeah. And that is obviously such an important thing as well, especially when you're trying to get a brand off the ground like this podcast itself. You have to put things out there just to start to get traction. So don't expect things to be overnight successes. It does take that. Put content out there repeatedly and just
remind yourself that you're actually doing it for yourself and not for anybody else.
Yeah, do it for your own development. Like, do things so you don't have to put some piece of content out there for likes and for engagement, attention.
It's more for your own.
Yeah, you can put it out there to develop your skills. You know, you're putting something out there to learn your production skill, or to learn your editing skill, or to learn your copywriting skill.
Of course.
And it's more about personal development and about actually, you know, putting yourself out there to learn more things. So obviously, you have a few things coming up.
Yeah.
You want to kind of talk about some things you might have coming up. Plug your Instagram, plug your Facebook. Let people know where to find you.
So obviously with everything that's going on, it's quite difficult, but I had planned to run some workshops. So some printing workshops in the Lancashire area, and also some drawing workshops and things like that. I haven't run workshops before on my own, but I have run workshops with other designers, such as like Christine Westcott, who runs Westcott and Heaney. Definitely check that out.
Sorry, I'm just choking on my tea. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, sorry. You okay?
Yeah, I'm grand, continue.
So workshops is something I'm like branching out into, as well as selling products myself. So I'm really keen on the whole skill sharing thing. I'm hoping to do some videos on how to do this, things like that. Just like making things, time lapses, all that sort of thing that people are kind of interested in.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously have Leila back on the show again, because we live together. So we'll have Leila back on the show again a few times, and actually kind of go more into individual things if that's what you want to know about. And also kind of track her development, and you know, then she can let people know, you know, when she's dropping new lines and how she's getting on with her plan to build her future.
Yeah, you'll kind of see hopefully you'll see my progression, and you'll hopefully see that I've met those deadlines that we briefly mentioned earlier.
Of course, yeah. So do you have any tips for other people? And it can be for any sort of time period. You know, people maybe starting off in college, or maybe people in uni, and kind of working out their plan. If you have any tips for them?
Yeah, my first tip, if I can even give tips.
Of course you can.
My first tip would be
from your perspective.
Yeah, surround yourself with those who make you happy and make you want to achieve. It's really easy to get bogged down in, you know, negativity, especially during these times. So surround yourself with those who make you want to do better every day. My next tip would be never lose sight of your goals. If goals seem unreachable, think of your steps and how you can get to them goals. So I break down goals and I work in the short term with the bigger picture always in the back of my mind. Tip 3 would be keep working on your skills. Don't sell yourself too short. You know, skills, time, effort is worth a lot. And you can't undersell yourself, even though I find that really hard to do. But I'm learning that you have to, you know, you have to put yourself out there and know your own value.
Yeah, you have to know your value. I mean, like with Leila, I mean, a lot of people would look at a print. Like me, I'm not a very arty person, so people like me would maybe look at something Leila does and go, well, that's cool, but why is it that value? Why is it that value? Why is it that price or something like that? But it's having to remember that, yes, to you it might just be a piece of paper with something on it, but to someone like Leila, that's hours and hours and hours of planning, of strategy, of, you know, making sure everything's going to be exactly right, and then actually then following through and doing it and creating that piece. It's hours and hours of work and dedication and honing of skills to get to that point to actually be able to put out something like that there. And then that's why people need to remember, if you know your shit and you're good at what you do, keep your value, know your value for what you're worth. And just
as a point to put out there, like, try your best if you can to support your local artist or designer, shop local, support the people that haven't got millions and millions of pounds. Like, yeah, you can buy a really nice print for £20 in a really well-known store or supermarket, but why not spend £20 with someone? I'm not saying necessarily me, but maybe in your local area, give them the money, because that money is making someone jump up and down, run around naked, so happy, because they are doing what they want to do and just supporting, basically putting someone's food on the table. Like, that should be more important than
a big brand.
Well, yeah, big brands are great too, and they do great things, but if you can support local, do it.
And for anyone that doesn't see, if you check out my Instagram, I'll put it here. I run a weekly feature every Friday. We put out a shop independent piece, so looking at independent local retailers and brands.
A lot of them are alcoholic because we like to drink a lot of beer.
A lot of them are alcoholic because we like to drink a lot. But yeah, we look at local brands, not so much a review, but kind of just highlighting these brands for you to see, dropping you a couple of links so you can then go and support these guys and try and help make their dreams reality for them. And then, help everyone in your local area as well. But I think that's great. If you have anything else or...
No, I think that's sort of like wrapped it up. But if anybody has any questions, don't feel afraid to DM me or drop me a line on Facebook or whatever. I'm always here to like answer questions. I realise that I'm not a super like, don't know what the word is, successful designer, but if anyone is at that age where they are kind of like thinking about university or doing a course in like art and design, then I can definitely be a person that can help you make those decisions or give you a perspective on it.
And so you can find Leila, you can find her at facebook.com/Leila Evelyn Designs, or on Instagram it's at Leila Evelyn _designs _. Yeah. Perfect.
I have also got a website which you should be able to get linked through my Instagram and an Artsthread portfolio if you want to have a look a little bit at my work from my third year. But
all links will be below anyway. I'll put all the links down below, so if you want to go straight through.
My website is being worked on, by the way, just because I am putting some products and trying to put some sales out there. So it will be changing over the coming weeks and months.
Awesome. Well, look, don't know where you're watching or listening. If you're on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, hit comment. Let me know the question of the week. What is your passion? Hopefully one of the guests we bring on will help highlight some ideas and some tips for you guys.
There's actually some really, really great people coming on here.
Leila knows who's coming on.
I'm not
just
saying it because some of them are our friends, but like they've got such good like ideas and passions.
So Leila knows who's coming on the show. So we know we've got a really good mix as well, I think, of people coming on.
A lot of different areas. So
yeah, comment below what is your passion, and hopefully we can get someone on to actually give you guys some help as well. If you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or any other podcast platform, please mean a lot, especially on this first video. If you can hit rate, leave a review on it. If you're looking to find me myself, you can get me on facebook.com/JT Media Marketing. All links will be below. And my Instagram at _Johnny Thompson as well.
Also, if you're interested in being featured on the podcast, then give him a message, because he's looking for different people in different areas. We've got a long list, but you're probably going to add to it, aren't you?
I mean, I need someone every week. So if you have a passion that you're drilling to become a business or a career, let me know. If you're interested in jumping on the podcast, I'd be happy to have anyone that wants to jump on, share their story, share their passion, and help other people get to where they might be trying to go as well.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. Have a good day, guys. Catch you next week.